First wire is it's in May 18th. Anyway, it's a great day. Last week, like 10 days, have been pretty phenomenal. Nervous system is really it's more stable than it's ever been for sure in my entire life. It's called the power of the nervous system. But it's amazing when you're deep in entrepreneurship, things just click. And, I read this morning about my step grandfather. I've always called him my grandfather. He's one of the man that I've always been in awe of. I just couldn't believe what I read this morning as I researched more of it. I felt this internal drive to stop sometimes and research stuff that I really never knew about my grandfather. He was he became president of Eastman Kodak during the 60s and 70s. And he was chairman of the board. My dad always said, your grandfather did amazing things in his life, and he was the Steve Jobs of the 1960s and 70s, and he named me. And I remember that about 3 weeks ago. But I just remember 3 days ago I woke up and I remember the photograph that I always stood there just awed. I kept looking. I watched that photograph, and there's Gerald Ford presenting my grandfather with the Theodore Roosevelt Award. It's given once a year. It's the highest honor in NCAA sports. And I was so in awe of it because Jesse Owens is there in the picture with my grandfather, and I could see Jesse's face. It's a big smile, and my grandmother just laughing, and it's the best picture I've ever seen in my life. But what I read this morning was just absolutely incredible. In a sense, you could argue that he was an architect. He architected the Pacific War, World War II. In a sense, he really was, because he was in charge he was a Marine corporal in the Pacific War, and he was, in a sense, he was an architect because back then, you had to reconnaissance and planes that went and took pictures of bunkers of the Japanese. And what's truly amazing is he stabilized the world economy after World War II with Japan, and he was a diplomat for Kodak, and he employed over 100,000 people at one time. But what's amazing is that if you really think about it, they didn't have digital cameras. All that stuff had to be developed, with chemicals and stuff, with paper and all that. My father always said that he was a genius. He had a photographic memory, but his real attribute was how he treated people. Dad always said he treated his gardener with the same level of respect as the chairman of the board of Kodak, Eastman Kodak, which is really the most powerful, probably, technology company on the planet during those times. Maybe Xerox, but now with arguably photograph. Anyway, but I thought that was pretty. What was so amazing this morning when I researched it. I mean, I knew he was in World War II, but if you really think about it, the pressure that he was under for 3 years, and then in the Second World War. You think about it, I'm sure he was on edge for 3 years because in real time he has to order all that stuff, and he has to know chemical here, chemical there, and it's just supply, because that has to get back in real time. And you have to understand. I mean, I'm sure there's loads of stories if you really think about it, and unfortunately I never I really don't. I have no recollection of my grandpa. sides. I just remember he gave me my college fund. It was like a check for $1,500, and I was like, yes! I was like 2.5. Mom was like, that's your college education. Little did I know. But anyway, the only other recollection I have is I was going to his funeral, and when I was 3. No, I was older than that. I'm sorry. I don't have any recollection of talking to him ever, but I remember him lying there in his casket, and I didn't like it, and he was looking right at me. And it's been very touching the last 3 weeks, because my body is really, you can't, PTSD and trauma, you cannot take it lightly, and it's, you think you're out of it, especially if you had severe PTSD. I'm so blessed and lucky that I have such a strong immune system, and it's stronger than anybody I've ever met in my life. And just, I'm truly blessed that I'm not in a wheelchair, because twice my blood pressure has been over 200, and from that alcohol pressural neuropathy. It was some of the worst pain in all of medicine. I just thank God every day that I can sit there and I look at the sky, and I point to the sky all the time. Maybe 10, 15 times a day I go like this, and I look up, and I know they're up there looking down at me. And it just seems the more I slow down a little bit, the better I feel. And luckily I've gotten the sleep that I've needed the last few days. So it comes in time, And as a special person told me, that I just ain't my day soon. It just takes time, It really does. And bigger, stronger, and smarter, way smarter than I've ever been in my entire life. It's just, I know God, it's like I nailed my knee the other day, and it just slowed me down. And today I'm walking incredibly well. For some reason, I'm running so much. I've got these workflows going on, and I need a couple more computers to really do what I want to do. Some of the automation I want for data processing, but I enjoy writing about my grandfather and other people like Martin Luther King and Isaac Nada. They gave me just the most amazing endorsement. And I told Jay, that his father, that I was like, it told him 2 days ago. I said, it really helped. So don't ever doubt yourself. It's bad for your nervous system. It really is. And that's part of what I want to teach. It's part of what I'm going to teach. I want to talk about entrepreneurship and following it, because when it hits, you know it, and it's a faith test. And I wrote this morning, there's, I don't know if it's the best quote in the world, but there's no bigger, pure form of faith test than entrepreneurship. Exactly what I said. And entrepreneurship is the truest test of faith, and it really is. And that's why it's so powerful for healing, and it's proven in history so much. And all my greatest writings and stuff and everything that I never thought I could write, and I don't know where it comes from. It's crazy. And I can't wait to start writing music when I get a chance. And it's amazing what I knew I could speak, but I never could feel like I got my words there for some reason. It was partly because I'm dyslexic, and AI has really helped with that. And I think following your art and learning to slow down, and just, I think, raising up and just looking up the sky, it really helps. When you've got a great friend like Van Alright to back you and encourage you, and says stuff like that, like people that you learn to follow it. And that's the reason why I want to be a public speaker, because it needs to change. People are entirely too I don't know, it's an emotional people are so emotionally unregulated. It's amazing, but there's nothing you can really do about it. You just kind of gotta walk. And, there's a way to take a right turn, and walk. I believe me, I looked it up. There's a correct way to do it. It's a confident way to do it. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you got to work for it. Tom Brady talks about it. So, I mean, why wouldn't I? You know. So once you get started, but don't stop, because there's going to be people that in your life that, for whatever reason, you can't change it. I mean, you really can't. I mean, that's what you realize, that they all talk about it. Like Saban, to everybody, they all talk about it. You know, Saban says, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. I mean, it's the truth. And people get whatever, for whatever reason. You're not going to change them, so don't worry about it. And that's been probably the biggest test of faith with me, is just to keep going. And the more I do it, and God, and that's like I need to explain that to Jay Nada, but I did tell him. I said that about 3 weeks ago. I said, God's put you in my life, and Isaac, and your family in my to pull me through this, because I needed it, and I really didn't have any help. It's the doggone truth, and I can't. I just stopped. I had to get away from it. And you're going to go through it if you're in entrepreneurship. Just keep going, and you'll figure it out. It'll come back, and the more I come back, and I start researching stuff that I was criticized for and whatnot. Now it's all good, because you know what? When an NFL football player says that about you, that's all I got to say. All those people, and I don't even have to say it. I really don't. I don't have to say it. You know why? I don't have to. I don't have to defend my integrity. I really don't. So, especially when Isaac Nada says that I can train NFL athletes. Thank you, Isaac, and thank you, Jay, and your wife. Please tell her I said I can't wait to meet her. Thank you.